So I recently had to replace my video card. So I went out and bought a Sapphire Radeon 7970 to replace my card, and of course everything was fine, but kind of. One thing led to another. When I got the new card, I had to replace the power supply because it had like an 8-pin connector, two 8-pin connectors or something like that. And then to replace the power supply, I also had to replace the housing. So I went out and bought a Corsair Graphite 600T housing, which you see behind me. And it's a thing of beauty, so I figured I'd show it to you because it's not necessarily a cheap housing. You can get way cheaper ones, but I was looking for some specific things. I was looking for a fairly toolless solution, meaning, swapping and adding drives and stuff like that. I like an easy experience. I don't want to whip out tools and unscrew a bunch of things. I just like to plug it in and go. I also wanted some good cable management, and I wanted doors, access bays on both sides. My last housing was a Dell housing from a computer that I was just kind of, replacing the innards of it every time I upgraded. And it wasn't easy to add and remove components. So this is a welcome change. So let's go take a look at what's in the box. So this is the white edition. It's kind of like a limited edition version of it. And it actually has a window here so you can actually see your components, which I think is really nice. Again, easy access on the sides here. This comes right out. I like that a lot. Allowing you to access all the various components that are inside your computer real easy. I also picked up, by the way, this Corsair power supply, and it's pretty cool. We'll talk about that later. But as you can see, I got my Sapphire card in there, and I have an ASUS Z77 motherboard. I have 32 gig of RAM. And here are the bays that I'm talking about that you essentially just squeeze and you can pull out a tray, and there's no screws or nothing. You just take your hard drive and you fit this exactly, in the holes where you would normally screw stuff, and then you just plug it in. And it makes a clicking sound and you're good to go. And you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bays here. You also have 4 in the front. So you have 4, you can put drives, optical stuff, whatever you need to access. It comes with a 200 millimeter fan in the front, which is a real big fan, and a 200 millimeter on the top. And it has a smaller fan here in the back. And she's pretty too. Look at all those wires. Now let's go take a look at why it's so pretty in there and where'd all my wires go. Well, the first reason actually is this Corsair power supply that I picked up is kind of like a modular power supply. And so it has basically the 2 main board connectors are physically connected to the power supply, and then all the other cables are kind of on a need-to-know basis, or not really need-to-know, but need-to-use. What I mean by that, and by the way, Corsair gives you this very pretty bag that comes with this fairly expensive power supply. But these cables plug in to the power supply and allow you to just only add the ones that you need. So there's a variety of types in this bag. And I haven't plugged them all in because I don't need all of them right now. So there's no need to have a big mess of cables just lying around inside my case. I'm going to spin her around. And this is why all the cables are so nicely organized in this unit. Again, the quick release, and this cover comes off, and those are my cables. My whole cable management is on the back end, which is great because you can access your CPU if you need to change that or remount the heatsink and fans. That's problematic if you don't have a housing that takes that into consideration. You got these rubber grommets that are fantastic for putting your cables through if you need to, and you could choose where you want to feed them through. You've got some cables here that are for the analog dial that's on top that can control your fans if you so choose to wire them up that way. I think I wired one fan like that, and I let the rest of them are going directly into my motherboard because I'd rather my motherboard manage you know, how much cooling it needs at any given time. It knows better than me, but because it has the dial on top and I didn't want the dial to not do anything, I did plug one fan into it just for giggles. But this to me is a godsend to be able to not only hide your cables but be able to access them. And by the way, this is how you connect your hard drives and such. You're going to want to do it from the back end, which was confusing to me at first. I was mounting them incorrectly at first. I wanted these connectors to face the front of the box, and then I realized, no, they face the back. So if you have trouble, if you get this housing and you decide to try to put these your hard drive in and it doesn't seem to be going well, you'll know why. Flip it around. And again, the case goes on pretty much as easy as it comes off. You just got to line it up in there, push it back, and it locks into place. That's it. Here's the front of the case. Here you have a fan. This is another 200 millimeter fan, and this grill actually has a filter, and it pops right off. And I don't know if you can see that, but you got the honeycomb shape that you can see from the front, and then if you look real carefully, you'll see that it actually has like a meshing in there, like a mesh, like a screen, which is great to prevent dust. On the top of the unit, you have 4 USB 2.0 connections, 1 USB 3.0 connector. You also have a FireWire connector. You have an analog dial that'll control your fan manually if you so choose to run it that way. And you have a headphone and mic jack. The power and reset switch are also on top. And finally, on the back, underneath the unit, you do have a removable filter. Anyway, that's the Corsair Graphite 600T housing. It's the white edition, which is a limited edition. That's the one that comes with a window on the side. I like it. I'm very happy with it. If you're someone who's looking for a housing and you're bewildered by all the options out there, if you have similar requirements to me, you want something with great cable management, you want dual access panels on either side, the ability to access your CPU from underneath without having to take the whole thing apart, it's a great case. I don't have any trouble with noise. I did read, I did a lot of research before pulling the trigger on this, and I heard people saying that it was noisy and the fans didn't work or they broke. So far, mine are going good. I haven't had any problems. I did replace right out of the bat because I did want to have it as quiet as possible because I do video editing and code development and gaming, and I did replace one of the fans in the back. I only got one of these. What is this? This is the Corsair 120 millimeter Quiet Edition, the AF120. So I did put that in the back. I'm not sure how much of an impact that had because I never ran it without that. But I didn't replace all the fans, just that one in the back. Another complaint I had heard online was that the plexiglass window, it makes crackling and flexing noises. Like when you turn it on and it warms up, it might make some flexing sounds, and then when you turn it off again, it might also make some flexing and crackling sounds. I haven't experienced that at all. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but at least in my experience, it hasn't been an issue yet. If that's a problem for you and you think, oh, I can't even take that risk, it does come with this nice little mesh, and it comes in the box, so you can just switch that out and mount that instead right in that little space. So just so you know. And this thing allows you to add an additional 4 fans, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you have questions or comments, leave them below, and I'll see you next time.